Hello everyone and welcome now to Game 3 in a series between Empires Kaz and NightEnd here on Entombed Valley. Game 3 in a best of 3. One game apiece as NightEnd was able to do some very timely Dark Templar harassment into the mineral lines of Kaz, keeping him off his game and then following up with a 1-2 punch of just macro and come out with the victory there. So a rather short game 2, as NightEnd using a little bit more unconventional strategy, playing not so much straight up to pull ahead with the victory. Now, NightEnd, we'll see what his strategy will be, and more importantly, we'll see what Kaz will be doing. We could most likely see NightEnd just chrono boosting up, getting 2 additional probes, go for that gateway, and then begin scouting with that probe as well. Meanwhile, it looks like Kaz is going for a standard 12 racks, and we'll have to see if he does build up an SCV once he has 75 resources. It looks like he is going to be trying to build up an SCV. Yes, he is trying to build up an SCV, not going for a refinery. And it looks like it will in fact be a 1 racks expand once more. Taking a look at NightEnd is getting up that assimilator. He is getting up that gateway. And based upon what NightEnd sees here, he will either go for a cybernetics core or that nexus that we saw moments ago. Probe now coming inside the base is going to take a look around, spots the barracks, going to do a quick walk around the backside of the base here, and now perhaps try to do a little bit of delay of mining. And if he's able to delay some of these SCVs from mining, that might be a little bit of a good job there, as the probe now backing away once more. SCV of Kaz looks like he will be scouting in the correct location momentarily, as the command center is now down. So far, Kaz is not going to be able, or Kaz will be able to finish up this one command center, as a Marine is already coming down, and that probe will be forced to run away once more. Cybernetics core is about 2/3 of the way completed. We should be starting up on that warp gate tech in just a moment, as we do have that initial zealot coming out from NightEnd. Alright, probe taking a little bit of damage there, able to back away once more. Zealot now coming down, and I believe we should be seeing a nexus come down from NightEnd momentarily. So far, Kaz is about 60% completed with his 1 expansion, as the SCVs are going to be retreating once more. Zealot deciding to take the banana hallway, and are the Marines going to perhaps spot this here, as the Marines are now going to be going back up once more. Bunker will be completed. We are going into that 2nd and 3rd barracks by Kaz, and this does have the makings of a very long macro game now that NightEnd is going to be going into his nexus. Probe, Stalkers, Zealots now leading the way, and this SCV, is it going to be able to finish it is the key question. It looks like the Marines are not going to be able to do very much, if anything, as the units are going to get taken down here. 1 Marine may get taken down. It looks like, yes, it will get taken down, and now what is happening? Oh, unable to finish off that last Marine. And I believe the Stalker could have actually taken down the Marine here, or perhaps tried to pull away. There is going to be 2 Stalkers together. If NightEnd tries to absorb some of the damage on the Stalker's shield, he may be able to make something happen of it, as more Marines need to jump inside that bunker rather quickly. SCV now making its way down. It is on patrol here, or will be holding that position there. SCV, oh, is it going to spot the Stalkers? Yes, the Stalker is trying to get off one more shot. Is it going to be able to do so? It looks like it will not be able to. Just simply walking inside, taking down the SCV, and now getting in some damage on some of those SCVs there. All right, here you go. Another SCV has been taken down. Another SCV getting taken down. NightEnd trading Stalkers for workers, and this might actually work out fairly well for him. We'll see what's going to be happening. 5 workers killed. Overall harvester count 25 probes, 22 SCVs. And now this is even without this nexus up and operational. And Kaz has already had this orbital command calling in mules for quite some time. Kaz not going to fall to that 1 walk by once more, building up a supply depot, making sure that the Stalkers cannot come in from that side. 1 Marine down to 5 hit points, still staying alive ever so barely. as we are going to be going into Immortals and 2 additional gateways. This is going to be a bit of a problem. NightEnd does not have enough sentries to fend off what could be a very, very large attack in just a moment. Warp Gate tech is about to be completed. There is 1 Immortal here. The sentries, oh, what is happening? Probes are now trying to run away. It looks like there is going to be a cancellation. 1 probe, 2 probes will get taken down. And now this Nexus, is it going to fall? No, it is not. The Warp Gates are now operational, and as more units are warped in, it looks like those Marines and all the other units are going to be simply retreating back here. Kaz had a small window of opportunity to attack, but that was quickly shut in on him, as now we have more Zealots, Sentries, and 1 Immortal. So far, that Immortal is going to be very effective at, per se, going up against Marauders, but with the sheer number of Marines that Kaz has, I don't believe that will really help him out all too much. Immortals are very effective at perhaps taking down the bunker and the supply depots. Very, very high burst damage against armored units and buildings. NightEnd now needs to do a little bit of chrono boosting out on the Nexus. Looks like 3 Stalkers are warping in down over here. Here it goes. A new proxy pylon is coming into position. And what is this probe going to do? That probe trying to walk up. It is going to get taken down. And now what will be happening next? Marines, force fields quickly come down. That bunker has been destroyed. Zealots and all of those Marines caught on the far side. The supply depots have been lowered. The Marauders trying to take down the Immortals, but the Guardian shields really adding extra durability here. SCVs now adding in on this fight. Immortal gonna back up perhaps. SCVs now absorbing more damage. The Marines going up against those units. More Zealots need to be added here. NightEnd now behind in terms of workers, 34 to 37, as more and more Zealots are being added. All right, I do not believe NightEnd is trading well at all. Currently down by a fair number of resources. Perhaps adding in a proxy pylon here to warp in onto the high ground would work out well. 1 observer here. The Immortals perhaps should be able to start getting some shots off onto these supply depots here. There is a factory nearby as well. The observer just floating overhead as the Immortals, Zealots, Stalkers, and Sentries have simply decided to retreat. 41 probes versus 44 SCVs. No one yet establishing up their 3rd base. Taking a look at Kaz. Kaz doesn't even have another command center in the works as of yet, as this 1 proxy pylon will get taken down. NightEnd currently down by 21 supply. Nope, now down by, what is that? 23? 25 supply? 15, yeah. 14 supply? Alright, can't do my math. As Sentries, Zealots, Stalkers, Immortals are going to be regrouping together. Now, Marines going to be checking the far side here. They're going to spot that there is no Nexus. And with no Nexus there, leave behind 1 Marine as a permanent scout. Meanwhile, we are going to see the Observer still keeping track of these medevacs, Marines, Marauders. And I believe Kaz knows that he is getting spotted. Double medevacs now coming into play here. What is happening? The Observers deciding to keep track and stay with the army instead, knowing that they cannot catch up to those medevacs at all. So far, 1 observer still parking itself off over here. Stalkers are getting themselves in position. New observer now making its way off. And is it going to spot in time? And it looks like, I believe it will be able to spot it in time here. Going to be doing a drop, unloading here. Not exactly sure why. All right, 1 Zealot going up against this Marine. And, well, that is going to get quickly taken down, as the Stalkers may perhaps be able to catch those medevacs in transit. No, they will not be able to, as that last Marine does get taken down. The Stalkers do have Blink. Oh, it does. Is it going to be able to? Yes, does take down 1 of those medevacs, and that was a huge, huge pickoff. Take a look at the overall losses. That was about 600 resources lost, and now Kaz no longer has the overall advantage by much any longer. We can see that the 3rd base is being placed down. Command center is about to be completed over here. Should be upgraded to an orbital command. And now what is going to be happening here? Observer flying straight into this medevac. Is Kaz going to respond in time? Looks like there are going to be Stalkers here. And yes, it is going to be the Stalkers going up against the medevac. The medevac does get shot down as the Stalkers do blink away. And with only a handful of Marines and Marauders, the Marauders are really just trying to do some damage before they get finished off. Nexus here is operational, or will be operational momentarily. Meanwhile, upgrading to an orbital command here at the third base. Both players looking very strong, and we are once again going in. Nope, that is not a Dark Shrine. That is simply a photon cannon, as a factory trying to do a little bit of fancy flying should end up just getting shot down here. All the Stalkers pushing that one factory away. Factory will be a permanent scout and annoyance off over here. Probes being transferred to the third base. Both players running up on 3 bases now. And this should be interesting to note, as NightEnd is currently sitting on 66 probes versus 66 SCVs. Marines and Marauders 1-0 upgrade, soon to be 1-1 and eventual 2-1, as the Ghosts are already on the move. Ghost EMP Shockwave should shut down some of these gateway units here in a moment. You can see that there are a fair number of High Templars, 3 High Templars, as Psystorm has just been completed. Marines, Ghosts, Observers still flying around. Medevacs are on the way. And where are we going next? What are these Ghosts going to do? Who are they going to perhaps EMP or snipe down? Okay, High Templars are all separated, and we could perhaps see a Psystorm. There is one feedback there, brilliantly done. And then another feedback there on another Ghost. Not altogether that successful, as the Observer was caught in that overall scanner sweep. 2 medevacs left, and here we go. We could have an engagement. There's an EMP, as one Ghost caught on the wrong side. There's a beautiful EMP onto a group of Stalkers there, as they are now going to try to go in. A High Templar, wow, beautifully done with one Psystorm. Another EMP Shockwave does hit, and both sides really just playing this micro war. Stalkers waiting for those shields to regen. Very, very narrow walkway. One High Templar off over here. It is still keeping track. Perhaps it will get a feedback off. No, not enough energy to feed back, as the units do back off here. Factory still flying overhead, as NightEnd is a bit behind in terms of overall supply and overall army compositions. Behind in terms of minerals and in terms of gas, as those Ghosts are very, very expensive units. Let's take a look at the number of Ghosts on the field. 9 Ghosts versus 3 High Templars. That is going to be the reason why the Ghosts are countering those High Templars, just because of sheer numbers, as we are now seeing a Ninja expansion over here on the top left. Both sides are about to engage. Nope, they look to back off again. And this Ninja expansion on the top left, perhaps with an orbital command and then mass training of mules, will make a very big difference, as Kaz has taken the center 6 o'clock expansion location. NightEnd now trying to catch up, doesn't know that Kaz is double expanding behind this, and I am curious as to whether or not we will see Kaz go for multiple orbital command centers for multiple mules. Ghosts are in position. Stalkers are trying to pick off more units. Here we go. Zealots are too far behind. Very, very bad position there, and NightEnd simply did not engage well. Psystorm does finally come down, does hit some of those Ghosts, and still 8 Ghosts in the front here. High Templars, are they going to perhaps get those Psystorms down? That is going to be the question. Ghosts with EMP Shockwave units are backing off, as there's still a factory overhead doing plenty of scouting. Stalkers and Zealots, High Templars, strategically positioned, as this one pylon will get taken down. All right, upgrading to an orbital command here at the top left-hand side. And we could have another engagement here in just a moment. There is some snipe there. A Zealot does get taken down. And this is just not going well. This massive army by Kaz. Beautifully, beautifully played. And Kaz is simply rolling over with a much larger army in terms of both minerals and gas. And NightEnd unable to really counter at this point. So far, we'll see what Kaz is going to be doing next. There are going to be multiple command centers. Mules, very, very effective in that they are able to mine and they do not cost supply. Kaz is going to have the benefit if the longer this game goes, as the Stalkers try to run in. This is no good. The Marines are now simply just going to walk forward and catch even more of these units. Once again, Zealots are upgraded only 1-2, as we are seeing 3-3 upgrades now being started. Kaz now starting to sit on an enormous bank of minerals, and that is only going to continue to grow as the High Templar does get off a Psystorm right before it gets picked off there. All right, large number of Zealots now leading the charge. This Zealot-centric army is not going to maximize its DPS at all against these Marauders and these Marines. The sheer number of melee units here, these Zealots are very expensive and they're very durable, so that makes them a good group of units to absorb damage. But besides absorbing damage, you also need to be able to deal damage, and will these Zealots be able to do it? SCVs now getting slaughtered, but this is basically on purpose at this point. As you can see, Kaz is now just trying to free up supply to get in even more workers. Scanner Sweep now coming in as well. A Zealot now going to test the waters here. Triple orbital commands. Is it mining out over here? No, it is not. Nor is it mining out over here. You can see Kaz may end up losing these orbitals, as a planetary fortress is pretty much minimal here. One Zealot gonna take a lot of damage. Planetary fortress does get taken down, and a beautiful Psystorm there from the back, as the Ghosts are now getting off some EMP shockwave. No observers for Protoss, and that is still the issue. No observers for NightEnd. And if Kaz is able to utilize that really strong Ghost play as he had in Game 1, I can't see how Kaz can lose this game right now. All right, SCV looking to take down a High Templar. That's a little bit funny, as Stalkers are now making their way over. SCV finally going to get taken down there. 194 versus 197. Level 3 weapons upgrade. We are now going into ship upgrades as well. Vikings now being trained. And Kaz just moving around with a very large army of units here. Marauders, what was it? Marauders, not that many Marines, surprisingly. Okay, yeah, not that many Marines. This is just a Marauder Ghost army. Very large. There's a drop now happening over here. A 3-pronged drop coming in, and it's going to take down the robotics facility, take down some more units as well. The Marines are now even able to take down more and more probes as the Colossi finally make their way in. What is happening here? Why are the Colossi backing off? They need to finish up all of these units here, as we now see a massive movement of units in the center portion of the map. More units now warping in to handle the drop here. It looks like this one Marine will get taken down, and only a couple medevacs being left behind. They are going to get cleaned up, as Zealots are now going to town onto orbital commands and command centers as they are currently being built. These Zealots are not going to be able to do much damage, especially against a planetary fortress with level 3 armor. The Zealot damage does get reduced significantly. Top left, Kaz still has a decent number of SCVs there. It is still mining, and we could see a lot of mules being called in there. Not quite sure where Kaz is calling his mules, as he should be calling them in the top left. That would be the perfect location, knowing that he can strip mine this without really sacrificing any SCVs. Down here in the center, gas now being harvested. And so far, where are the rest of the workers? Kaz now down to 60 SCVs. I gotta believe that there's more on the field somewhere. I just can't quite spot them. 17 Vikings in the air. That's gonna pretty much shut down any Colossus before Colossi can do anything. Psystorm could happen. Yes, there you go. There is some Psystorm there. Are we gonna see another Psystorm? A feedback. I believe that was a feedback. Not 100% sure. Stalkers now trying to pick off Vikings. Vikings, Marauders, as the units are still moving around back and forth. And Kaz now with a huge army. Both sides about even in terms of army supply. 130 versus 127. But still a massive difference in terms of overall resources. All right, next battle coming in. There are still more units coming in here, and here is that engagement. Vikings coming in to engage, chasing after all of those Colossi, backing away once more. What is happening here? The Vikings pretty much holding off the Colossus at bay, knowing that they're going to get one-shotted. Kaz moving in, and now in comes a quick blink. Vikings now trying to chase their way in, and the Vikings are still engaging. Beautifully done. The Vikings leading the way, pushing back the Colossi, and this is just one bad engagement away from either side really taking the victory here, as the Stalkers did try to blink forward to shoot down those Vikings, not working out all too well, and the Vikings are still making another move. Are we going to perhaps see another Psystorm come in? Colossi, Stalkers engaging. There's some Psystorm units are now walking through. This is not going well at all. Colossi falling apart, and NightEnd looks to be in trouble as the Stalkers are now going up against Vikings. All the Marines and the Marauders have been taken down, and now the Stalkers are going to be able to come out, and NightEnd actually comes out ahead here with a very, very large engagement, finally utilizing those observers. One medevac flying off to the north, and let's take a look at the losses. 21-8. Overall army compositions, you can see who's ahead there. NightEnd, 72 probes versus 60 SCVs, and the real problem for NightEnd is he still does not know about this expansion, and this is exactly what I want. Oh, not exactly. This is what I wanted to see from Kaz. He only needs 8 mules, though, not 12. 8 mules, 1 per mineral patch. Now, that does mean that the mules are going to be wandering back and forth a little bit further, as we are now seeing a new base established off over here. Nexus of NightEnd now being established here as well. And if Kaz can strip mine this base, which it looks like he's going to do, he may be able to essentially ninja that expansion away from his opponent. And if it does go down to total resources, it would give Kaz a significant advantage. Orbital Command's now being forced to lift off. And will that Orbital Command fall? Yes, it should, as the Vikings may get taken down as well. All right, that Orbital Command down to 76 hit points. Is it going to survive? I don't believe so, unless an SCV is called over on the double. And NightEnd doing a little bit more damage here. 34, 30, 27, 25, 20. Oh, that building is on fire now, trying to... Oh, goodness, that was so close. All right, medevacs now looking to do perhaps a drop inside the natural expansion here. There is a wide opening. Only 2 photon cannons, as the photon cannons are pretty much unsuccessful at stopping the number of Marauders and Marines you're seeing. Planetary Fortress does go down here, and now trading of bases. Twilight Council has pretty much already been utilized. Nothing really lost if that is destroyed. Let's see if Kaz is going to mine out these bases here, as we see an engagement now in the center. Colossi are falling. Stalkers, Zealots, Medevacs, Marauders, Marines, Vikings, and it looks like NightEnd will perhaps come out ahead again, as the Vikings are not going to be enough. The Viking needs to get taken down, and there you go. But right now, it looks as though Kaz is still looking to deal even more damage. All of these warp gates now unpowered, as the Stalkers are not able to blink forward. Zealots now going after the units. Stalkers trying to add a little bit more DPS as well. And now what's going to be happening here is the Marines are still winning out. Coming back over here, Colossi now going to go ahead and take down another planetary fortress. And this is just an exchange of bases, as the planetary fortress does get taken down once more. Vikings now perhaps trying to go after the Colossi. Another group of Zealots now going to finish up the medevacs, or the Marauders and the Marines here, I believe. The Stalkers need to make their way forward, and there you go. One medevac, the low hit point medevac. Are the Stalkers going to blink forward? Come on, just go after the lower hit point one. Yes, that does have the one Marauder. All right, Kaz desperately trying to mine out here. Doesn't even, now going into the refineries as well, and trying to steal some gas from his opponent. This is going to be absolutely hilarious, as Kaz has more options to expand. These mineral patches, only one of them is down to is at 800. Everything else is pretty much being mined out very quickly. And you can see another round of mules have fallen apart here. All right, down to 35. There's only going to be 4 mineral patches here left in just a moment. Another medevac drop coming in from Kaz to take down some of the main production, as the feedback now comes in, and that is going to be huge. Not that much energy left on those, pretty much no energy left on those medevacs, means that no drop will be sustainable at this point, as the Archon doesn't get any kills, but still does the necessary here. NightEnd now finally realizing that there's an expansion here on the top left. You can see that he was trying to warp in assimilators and a nexus here. Only gets 2 buildings, 2 pylons, and he's gotta be absolutely upset at this ninja expansion. This ninja expansion has been there for so long, as we now see an engagement down over here. Vikings, Medivacs now on the move. Archon may perhaps be able to catch up to some of those units here, and now even more units are getting taken down. NightEnd getting a couple of free Vikings and Medivacs. This is going to be a beautiful comeback if he does make it out, and it looks as though he needs to do a lot of damage now. The longer this game goes, the better I believe it will be for Kaz, as Kaz has more options to expand. Kaz is making sure that the game goes long by hitting the production of NightEnd, meaning that even if Kaz loses a battle, NightEnd will have an easier time replenishing those units. Now, it looks like the Observer will get taken down here. More Zealots are now warping in, and the Marines and the Marauders trying to finish this off. They have to be very careful with the amount of stim that they use, as those Medivacs are pretty much out of energy. Marines and Marauders are now backing themselves into a corner there. Beautifully done, as we are now getting into more gateways here. The Orbital Command is now on fire, but the Vikings and the Marines and the Marauders perhaps going to try to go down the Banana Hallway and help some more. The Marines have finally been cleaned up. Let's take a look at the losses. We are only different by about 411 resources. I guess that's not an about. Exactly 411 resources, even though we are 35 minutes into this game. Kaz now landing a factory, and with this factory here, he could perhaps try to train up some Hellions and do a little bit more harassment here. Marines and Marauders catching a Colossi in transit, but a Psystorm could come in from the top. It does not land. Two of them do not land, as the Psystorm forcing these units to split apart a little bit further. Psystorm could be coming in. Kaz now with the superior overall supply count. Is it going to be enough, as the Vikings are going after the Colossus? Colossus does get taken down. Archons now pretty much out of shields, which means they are dead Archons, but Stalkers now coming in from the bottom. Kaz, will he be able to do much? Vikings need to go into ground mode if they want to help out at all. The Stalkers are going to be able to perhaps blink forward, and Vikings are now getting shot down left and right. This is not good news at all. Where is Kaz going to go with these Vikings? He needs to keep them alive, and NightEnd now warps in 9 more High Templar. Down over here, Zealots were able to do a quick run by, and now NightEnd looking to see what he can do. Army compositions, Kaz still has the larger army now, and it is up to NightEnd to deal a lot of damage. Vikings landing and just getting destroyed by photon cannons, getting 4 kills on each of those photon cannons, as the Zealots are now going to be finishing up this refinery here. It does look like Kaz is starting to hurt on expansions. Kaz does have, I believe, yes, some orbital commands in position, not nearly as many as he did moments ago, but he is going to start to try and strip mine this center 3 o'clock expansion location. All right, probes now backing away once more, and this one factory just still scouting out here. A new command center going to be landing here, and Kaz is going to be controlling the main mineral patches left in this game. This is huge. Kaz now with a larger army again, and if he can engage and fight where his opponent is not, he should be all right. Let's take a look. Forges are now completely done with upgrades. You can see, I believe there was a Zealot there. That was taken down relatively quickly, as now the attack force is going to go in at the center 6 o'clock location. That little scanner sweep, a little bit of a precursor as to I am going to be attacking here. Get your units over here as quickly as possible. NightEnd now going to be losing perhaps this Nexus, but in comes the Archons. Ghosts should be getting some EMP shockwaves. There it was 1 or 2, but not enough. There's more, and now the Archons are in a bit of trouble. There's some more EMP shockwaves there, and all of a sudden this Archon army is now nearly useless, as we are going to see the main production buildings of NightEnd once again get destroyed. Cybernetics Core has a chance of getting destroyed as well. Archons now coming in over here from the other side. Archons are now going to be making their way up the ramp, and more units will get taken down here. Pylons, Nexus, all these buildings will get destroyed, as we now see Zealots trying to make their way in. We still don't see the customary try to even things up with Dark Templars, but I believe Dark Templars would be absolutely useless in this scenario, as Kaz is looking to strip mine that particular base. All of these bases left behind that building Yeah, that building doesn't need to be taken down. No real strategic value in it whatsoever. Archon's now getting destroyed. And the Colossi of NightEnd in a beautiful engagement. Kaz with, so far, a beautiful, beautiful combination of Marines, Marauders, Vikings, Medivacs, still able to push back all of these units here. The Vikings are leading the way. The Marines and the Marauders are never too far behind, meaning that the Stalkers cannot engage against the Vikings all too well. Beautiful Psy Storms, though, and those Psy Storms are eating through a lot of these units here. That's going to be a bit of a problem. If one quick Psy Storm or a one quick round of units, and all these units will get taken down, and Kaz may actually end up losing a lot more in this engagement if he's not ready for it. All right, the Vikings need to get finished off. You can see that there's only 1 or 2 Vikings left. Colossi are done, and Kaz with just a handful of Marines, Marauders, and Medivacs looks to finish off the rest of this. The Zealots are now trying to engage. The Zealots are upgraded 3-3-3, and the Ghost should perhaps be trying to get off some snipes. And actually, no, snipe is completely useless against that. Just attack with the base attack. Better there. All right, in comes the Marauders and the Ghosts here. This base has been mined out now, and now with Kaz, with many more operational mining operations, I believe Kaz is gonna come out as the victor in this game. You can see a 60 supply difference, and NightEnd did just enough every step of the way to come out with the victory, I believe. Archons, Colossi, now comes in another engagement. Are there enough Vikings in the air? 5 Vikings, but that is still a lot of Vikings considering the amount of Stalkers, which is currently none, meaning that there's nothing there to really challenge those Stalkers or those Vikings except for Archons, and Archons simply don't have the range. Triple Colossi being trained. Normally when you hear triple Colossi, that is, or triple Colossus, that is such a strong combination of units from Protoss against Terran Bio that Kaz wouldn't have very many options. But so far, Kaz, a beautiful utilization of Ghosts in this, making Ghosts much more prominent. 11 Ghosts in this group, and now going to be finishing off the rest of these gateways. At this point, NightEnd needs every mineral he can get, and he cannot afford to replenish these gateway units that easily. Vikings, Archons now still both battling it out. Medivacs, Marines, Marauders, Archons are in the front. Are the Ghosts, are they able to get off some EMP shockwaves? It doesn't look like it's even gonna matter though, as the Ghosts were cloaked there. And now Kaz is being forced to replenish his army. He is at 167. He lost a fair amount here, but he simply has much more than his opponent, as it looks like he will be trying to go for a drop in the main. The main here, or I guess the other base on the top left. Now the main and last mining operation of NightEnd. NightEnd sitting here off of one good mining base, and that is all. The Medivacs now looking to finish off with the Marines and the Marauders what they started moments ago, and the Robotics Bay is now unpowered, meaning no more Colossi. 5 Colossi here. Are they going to be able to finish up some more units? Stalkers unable to blink to catch up, as it was already on cooldown, and this may be the killing blow. Marines, Marauders, not even Medivacs, with Ghosts and Vikings looking to finish this off all here. High Templars now coming in. EMP Shockwave making them completely and utterly useless at this point, as more Zealots are being added. And yes, NightEnd, I believe, will have to give the GG. This Nexus falling is going to be the last source of income. And there you go, another Archon does bite the dust. More units now coming in from the reserve here, as we see another round of units coming in from Kaz. Kaz has macroed back up 8 Vikings to deal with all of these Colossi. And with now quad training Vikings off of double starport. So you can see, or not even quad starport, or he could actually do, what, sextuple training? Alright, here we go. Colossi once again looking to come in to finish this off. We are going to be going into Marines and Marauders here. SCVs, Ghosts, Marauders. There is going to be one last final big engagement. Are the Vikings nearby? It looks like there are some Vikings. Is it enough? And there is the GG. Well played. Kaz losing or winning game 3 in this best of 3. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.